I'm going through the white light into the afterlife! My life is flashing before me! It was filled with video game news from E3 2019? Oh, wait! The Reaper is just checking DKVine.com on his smartphone!
Hello and welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell and let's go this way tonight.
I'm Cameron Reigle.
My cider bounced up into my eyes. What was that?
Yeah, that was a lucky bounce. This is Cameron Reigle.
Cameron. That's Cameron. Who are you?
I'm Cameron? I'm Jeff.
I'm
Jeff Onan.
Okay.
We're going to have last names.
Mitchell was like, this is only going to take an hour and 10 minutes. I'm calling it right now.
No.
I'm really focusing on presenting the logo.
That's illegal.
No. I mean, no, it's not. So,
They're going to do a sue on us.
I like 805 beer. It's a nice light beer.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. It's great.
And I'm still drinking Strongbow hard apple ciders. This is gold apple variety.
I'm drinking.
Yeah, what is that?
It says it's called the world-renowned Budweiser Lager beer.
Which planet is this?
Brewed by our original process from the choicest hops, rice, and best barley malt. It is the choicest of people who are choosing the cheapest. That is still above moose piss.
You know what they say? Choosing moms choose Budweiser.
It's still like moose piss, but like pretty. It's like it's fine.
Now, choosy people
It's
become
fine
moms
as far
because
as
they chose
moose piss
Budweiser.
goes.
So, this is ostensibly the Playtonic episode of our series of E3 episodes. The first time we've ever done a Playtonic episode. So this is exciting because usually whenever there's been any Playtonic relevant news at E3, we've awkwardly tried to shoehorn it in somewhere. And this time we can't do that. We have to give them their due, their proper spotlight. And that's pretty okay considering today was just a nothing day as far as E3 goes. I mean, that's...
No, I mean that's nothing to your interest.
In
which is
news, literally not true.
But in conversation land, absolutely true. Yeah,
I'll give it to you because I expected between a limited run, which gave us something last year in the form of the Yooka-Laylee physical release, which for the kind of collector's mindset, which I think a lot of us in DK Vine fandom are or have.
Yeah.
That's neat because we wanted the Nintendo version of this game that was very much like a Nintendo game in the past. In physical form. Didn't happen for a while until last year at E3. So that was limited run. And then Ubisoft last year had the Donkey Kong Adventure and Star Fox stuff. The Star Fox stuff didn't end up being DKU, but that kind of vibe from Ubisoft. Definitely good and definitely cool to watch. This year I was expecting probably not anything from limited run, which was true. We didn't get anything from limited run, and probably not anything necessarily DKU from Ubisoft, but maybe something like Nintendo related, like they've done in the past. Invite Miyamoto up on stage and stuff. Didn't do that either.
No, they didn't. Miyamoto also wasn't at the Xbox briefing.
Was that not him when, what was that game? Cyberpunk 2077.
No, actually, it's a funny story. Miyamoto was originally the choice for Neo in The Matrix, but then he dropped out, and they got Keanu Reeves.
Breathtaking.
So, also, I would like to apologize for those of you who watched our first ever camera footage of the conversation on YouTube. I'd like to apologize for my disheveled hair last night. It was appalling. It was disgusting. And I've run a comb through it, and hopefully this is much more aesthetically pleasing.
I'm working on also an aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's
you're really going for something.
Jeff, you've really degenerated in just the 2 days you've been here.
Well, yesterday, I had how many too many beers is what, and
well, we could count.
And now I'm
we could in the
really
past,
going in a downward spiral.
Jeff might have some trouble
but
now.
the main thing was I noticed how self-conscious Hyle was about his just disgusting hair. And and I thought, well, if I wore a bandana as if I were a pirate, because I'm not, but that would just hide my hair and prevent any possibilities that you even would have to look at my hair.
And I appreciate that.
So I'm kind of a pirate today, but kind of also just like a homeless man.
Yeah, you.
But chubbier.
I kind of wish I wasn't sitting next to you.
Well, you're sleeping in the same bed, and I'm not taking off the bandana.
That's all he wears too.
Great.
Yeah, so we're going to be getting into our thoughts on Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. But first, I think we need to add some context to our discussion from last night, because we kind of know exactly what Rare is out here for now. Because last night we were like, well, things aren't adding up. Why Rare is here? And really, the reason is, of course, to continue to talk up Sea of Thieves and build up hype in a big environment like E3. But it's also to show off Battletoads, because I think we really undersold their involvement with Battletoads.
You might have. I've been trying to emphasize that for a long time.
Yeah.
I think it's because the early reporting on who was developing Battletoads was a bit misleading.
Delala's making the game with help from Rare.
But
that's not true.
Yeah.
There now articles coming out of this E3 are saying Battletoads by Delala and Rare. Co-developers.
Yeah,
which is true, because we've known that. That's not a secret that there have been designers at Rare actually doing level design and everything on this game that are Rare employees working at Rare with Delala.
Yeah, but
co-developers.
It's being treated more like a Rare game. With all due respect to the people at Delala, it is, I think, going to bear the Rare branding in a more significant way than Killer Instinct or anything else in this situation has done in the past few years. So, and they're even, Rare's giving away Battletoad pins this year, and so, there you go. That's why they're really out here. So,
and this morning we all attended a Sea of Thieves.
He didn't.
I was looking to my left.
Oh,
and Mitch is to my right.
I forgot your object permanence means Mitchell doesn't exist right now.
I mean, he's alright with that. So, this morning the three of us, real Rare fans, attended a Mixer Invitational stream for the Arena, which is a Sea of Thieves competitive mode. And that's a really big event for them. And among other things they're doing, showing Arena on the show floor, they're definitely not... Just because they didn't have a presence in the briefing doesn't mean that Sea of Thieves doesn't have a big presence at this E3.
And
it does. Yeah. For sure.
And these were like we could see for the Mixer presentation, like these are kind of like all hands on deck scenarios where you need a large crew to operate.
They are really showing Sea of Thieves. Just because there wasn't like any big part of it in the briefing doesn't mean that's not a big part of their current workload.
Yeah, and like we said last night, I think we said this last night. It's hard to remember what we said last night.
It was a whole night ago.
People who watch or follow along with E3 from home think that the briefings and the directs are the extent of E3, and that's not really true. And you've kind of got to absolve yourself of that mindset to really understand E3, because just because it wasn't at the briefing doesn't mean it's not here.
Yeah, there's a big difference between presence and news at E3, and I think it would be fair to say that Rare, outside of Battletoads, or really even inside of Battletoads, if you think about it, didn't really have much news.
Yeah.
Because Battletoads, we did see it for the first time, but we didn't get anything like a release date or a more stable answer of like how the rest of this game will play.
Yeah.
And with Sea of Thieves, we got almost none of that except for the Spartan, the Halo Spartan. What's the official name?
It's the Spartan set of ship cosmetics that are a free gift to anybody that logs into Play Sea of Thieves from today through the 15th of June. So it's just a promotion, just a nice little... It's very cool. It's the first time they've done a promotion with a property outside of Rare. In Halo is... I heard it's big. So
it's all right.
It's I mean, big as in physically it's large.
Yeah. Master Chief is like
the
7
discs.
feet tall.
The discs don't even fit in my Xbox.
That's bad design. That's bad design at the very best, at the most charitable.
So yeah, you're giving out a little promotion.
To be fair, your Xbox is just the GameCube, but you wrote with a Sharpie Xbox, and you spelled it wrong too.
You know,
yeah, are you all right?
I feel very attacked. It's because I'm wearing a pirate bandana, which is supposed to be accepted in today. They're giving a promotion.
That was supposed to be accepted.
It is.
Oh, okay.
Have an open mind.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
They have a promotion for Sea of Thieves. They're showing a lot of presence of Sea of Thieves on the show floor. But you're right. They didn't have any news. They didn't talk about actual content updates that are coming. We know that they're hard at work on those, but they're still not ready to show off anything in the wake of their really big release, which was the anniversary update back in late April, early May.
Yeah.
And as far as the rumors of Rare developing another game internally, I guess that's just TBD. Not this year.
Dude, you know I can't spell. Like, what's that one?
Tip-a-duh.
It's like when the parents spell out the word like...
Do I need to buy you a fucking dictionary, Jeff?
Let's
what
talk
would
about
that do
Playtonic
for me if I
quick.
can't read?
Just
Let's do it real quick. Okay.
Me too. People are going to think they stumbled into the wrong day's episode.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I
did.
think it's clear that this is a different day.
I mean,
we've made a lot of progress in our E3
Well,
coverage.
we're stumbling into a lot.
The stumbling is clearly not on the audience's part.
I combed my hair. I'm wearing a different shirt.
I look like a fucking bum.
Jeff is... I don't know what's happening to Jeff, but...
I mean, frankly, the fact that we're recording
Well,
these isn't like for the novelty of it. It's a wellness check for ourselves.
Right.
In
So-
my defense, I'm wearing is a combination of my comfy clothes and then just a pirate bandana for no reason.
It's like you started to cosplay as something, and then you were like, nah, I got my own thing going on.
I'm cosplaying as a character of my own machination. So real quick, we're going to talk about Playtonic.
Okay, let me set it up because I don't trust you.
I mean,
Just look at you.
when have you ever...
So, yeah, last Friday, I think E3 season officially kicked off. And it was license renewed for Yooka-Laylee, surprisingly enough, because everybody was talking about Playtonic's second game since Yooka-Laylee came out. Well, what's Playtonic's second game going to be? It's going to be about Shell, right? They're going to do a Jet Force Gemini pastiche.
Who would do that?
Well, and then it was just like, well, no, they're going to do a mascot racer because that seems like something fun. They could do something that's like a successor to Diddy Kong Racing, and that would be something that would be appreciated by the fan base. And then there's other people who were like, well, we just want Yooka-Laylee. Do Yooka-Laylee again, but make it better.
I kind of thought it was going to be a fighting game.
Yeah?
Yeah. I had no reason.
No reason at all.
I just kind of did.
Yeah. And you really talked yourself into it, and you believed it, and then when it didn't happen, you complained about it online, right? That's the way these things go.
Yeah, I sent daily some very hurtful messages.
Yeah, I know.
We were super
Well,
not on good
that's
terms.
not nice.
Oh, I didn't actually do it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
What a good joke.
Yeah, yeah, I'm laughing on the inside, Mitchell.
Yeah. It's a really good joke.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't do that kind of thing.
No.
Yeah, don't do it.
Do I have to bleep you again? I was up till 4 a.m. last night.
So, it's none of those things. It's a 2D platform.
Well, Yooka-Laylee was the closest, weirdly enough, but only lightly.
In that it's another game starring Yooka-Laylee.
Diet closeness, like Splenda version of closeness.
What?
Yeah.
Just let him say what it is, man.
You know me, I like the anticipation is the fun part.
Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair is Playtonic's next game. It's
You heard it here
combination-
first, folks.
Exclusive. It's a combination 2D
World
adventure
premiere.
game 3D adventure game like a Zelda, and then also 2D platformer game like a Donkey Kong Country.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, I'm glad that you tuned in. Now you know.
I'm glad you dressed up for this, Mitchell.
But
Yeah.
it's honestly surprising with some of the marketing around Yooka-Laylee was based on the concept that yes, we want to build a new universe, our own universe, a shared universe of characters that we can then put into new contexts, and that is what they've done here. But I think that it is not what was what some people were expecting, which is I think a good thing. We didn't expect it, but we were kind of expecting one of the NPC characters in Yooka-Laylee would get their own game. And I think they made the right move by further establishing their universe with a what they're calling is not a sequel.
Yeah.
But another Yooka-Laylee starring
It's
game.
not a sequel, but chronologically, it's a sequel. It's just not a sequel in the appropriate terminology of sequel.
Well, in 2015, shortly after the company was even announced, Sutherland did an interview with you. Where,
I don't remember this at all.
Where he kind of
implied. Chris Sutherland.
Oh!
Yeah, not
well,
Kiefer.
why did. What?
It wasn't Kiefer.
Yeah. Well, no, the Kiefer Sutherland conversation was.
Actually, I thought it was with his dad.
Dude, that guy's old.
Yeah, which is why it was.
He doesn't listen.
I was like, why is he talking about? Why is he talking about?
Too old.
Why is he talking about Rare? He's clearly lost his mind.
What did Chris Sutherland say in that interview, man?
Chris Sutherland in that interview said that there was the intention to build a Playtonic universe, like a shared universe, kind of in the mold of starting with Diddy Kong Racing.
Yeah.
And then
but actually do it with a plan this time.
Do it with a plan. So start with a game with a bunch of characters, and then each consecutive game would be about a different character, but also introduce new characters along the way, MCU style, kind of.
Maku.
Maku.
Oh, good. Yeah, I don't do good with letters. You got to word them out for me.
Maku's this Disney mouse, but so it is basically not that. Pretty much not that.
Okay, so I don't think they had this planned from the start. Like, our second game is going to be about. It's just going to start Ukraine.
And fine, ideas evolve all the time.
Yeah. I actually think this is unexpected because it was kind of misdirection, like the ball and the shell game, ironically, where you're like, where is it going to wind up? And we were all looking over here, and it was just like, oh no, another game starring Yooka-Laylee, but a different genre. And actually, I think it's perfect.
It's brilliant.
Absolutely.
It's going to further establish the base of this universe before spinning off, and I think that's smart because not that Yooka-Laylee was shaky to any degree, but they're taking that base, tackling an entirely different genre, and saying this is what this also can be. The characters of Yooka-Laylee are not just what we use for collectathons. They can apply to multiple contexts.
And I think it's important to establish that they are not limited to just one genre. Yes, the name and the overall hook was basically a Banjo-Kazooie spiritual successor, but we could also have them be in a Donkey Kong Country style game.
And for that matter, it avoids another potential pitfall. Like if the whole genesis of this project was Playtonic wanted to make a game in the vein of Donkey Kong Country, they didn't do another project that had characters analogous to Donkey Kong Country. Like this wasn't.
Do we need to believe you?
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that beautiful consensual act.
You're going to make me lose my train of thought. Is what's wrong with it.
I think you're making a good point.
That you are Cameron. I don't know why I'm being a jerk to you, Cameron.
Of Donkey and
Diddy. Say they announce their next project and it's like Monkey Jim's adventure and it's clearly this is the character that's supposed to be.
Why does that upset Mitchell so much?
Let him speak. God damn it!
I'll give them it wouldn't be starring monkeys probably, but just this is the Donkey Kong analog. This is the Diddy Kong analog.
Tamarins? How do you say that?
Tamarin?
This wasn't even part of the conversation.
Can we do one without Hyle? Is that allowed?
Can we restart? All of this is not good.
No, I think you're right. If they had done a Donkey Kong Country successor, so to speak, that had direct analogs to it's got a heavy character and a light character, and they tag team, and they're jungle monkeys.
And this would kind of communicate that to people. Oh, this is Playtonic's MO. This is what they do. They revisit an old genre, but.
Hyle, what the hell?
Are you okay? What is in that? I think this
Hyle,
might be like
3/4 of a cider.
I think this might be an
anyone on the video
anti-endorsement.
feed needs to know that all of these Budweiser cans were not drank by Hyle. He had none.
Yeah.
I also just took an Excedrin because of the migraine.
Do I need to... out of reach of you, mister. All right.
What's in these?
Pills.
So it's acetaminophen, caffeine, and aspirin.
He knows because he read the entire label after taking one.
Yeah,
apparently.
it took him 0.1 seconds, and he's like, he just knew every word on that label. Because he's in another zone right now. No, I think you're right. The people who have complained that they are doing a Donkey Kong Country send up said, oh, all they want to do is revisit old stuff. But I think that by the nature of them using Yooka-Laylee in this game, and not a Donkey Kong analog, and that forces it immediately to be something new.
And as you said, it adds to the depth of the Yooka-Laylee cast, because they can be more than one thing.
Yeah, even though it seems like a few of the characters in what we've seen so far will be retaining their original roles from the first game,
Right.
so it's not going to be just like, we're not going to just repeat the format of the first game, and we're also not going to just throw away everything every single time for a completely new thing for no reason.
What I really like about this is at a base level, it does establish Yooka and Laylee. No matter where Playtonic goes or what characters they may give starring roles, Yooka-Laylee are basically their mascots. Like, they're Mario, they're Sonic, whatever. And I think that's kind of important that they don't immediately cast Yooka-Laylee aside, because for all intents and purposes, Yooka-Laylee is the Playtonic brand, so let's continue that for their second game and establish what else they can do, and then once we've built up more trust and more brand loyalty for Playtonic, then we can start kind of branching out a little bit more.
What really excites me about that is when they do eventually decide to make a game starring a character that's not named Yooka and Laylee,
Right.
They will have two past games to pull from, to pull cast members from, to pull concepts from. So maybe you make a game starring Trouser or some other character, but you're going to pull characters from Yooka-Laylee. You're going to pull some characters from Yooka-Laylee in the Impossible Lair, and you're going to create new characters, and they're all going to be recontextualized. And now, so you've got 2 games worth of material to pull from.
Yeah, I'm already excited to find out what some of these characters are going to do in new context, because some of them carry over fairly straightforwardly, I would think, but others would have to fit a slightly different mold for a different kind of game, I think, and I really want to see what that progression is for them.
Did you notice on the, I guess what is going to be the box art, like the cover art, did you notice that Trouser finally has a building?
He does.
Caravan.
Caravan.
Yeah.
A non-permanent building.
Yeah.
A non-permanent structure.
Someday he might have a permanent structure.
As somebody who can never afford a home, I don't know what that is.
It's that transitional
I sleep in my
phase.
car, Jeff.
No. You sleep in my bed is what you do. And you wake up with raging boners.
Now, this is true, but to be fair, it's involuntary, Jeff.
You guys are so bad at this today.
No, listen.
What's
it's
going
not
on with this
his
podcast?
This is actually prime conversation,
morning
Mitchell.
wood is involuntary. And I don't blame Hyle.
He
says that I moan in my sleep, and that can have an effect on someone.
No, it has nothing to do with you, Jeff. I just wake up, and it happens, and I just want to apologize in advance. It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, you poke my
Yooka-Laylee.
Playtonic will listen to this.
Playtonic knows what we're about.
Hi, Daily. We're
Do
fans
they?
of you. Okay.
Yeah.
Do they know what we're about? Where were we with
we were talking about caravans and characters.
I think that the characters being able to evolve, the characters being put into new contexts that are not wildly different. This is a very rare thing to do.
Yeah.
Banjo to Banjo Tooie, so many characters reutilized in different contexts. Donkey Kong Country to Donkey Kong Country 2 to Donkey Kong Country 3. And I will admit that what we've seen so far, we haven't seen as many drastic outfit changes and
besides Capital B.
Besides Capital B, who is excellent.
He's
new
most
outfit.
excellent.
He seems to
as
have lost
Keanu
his
would
mind.
say.
He seems to have...
He's
It's a
ratcheting
great
up
progression,
the...
yeah.
This is another very rarish thing that I kind of observed.
Rarish. I mean, there's nothing wrong with what you said. I just love that we can just freely use that term rarish, and we all know what we mean.
There's a logic to saying that word with that syntax. Capital B is kind of going into the K. Rool and Gruntilda Mo model of like kind of going off the rails increasingly with each game. It seems he's like changed his attire, he's changed his minions.
I love how, especially I guess in the Males design, like Greg Males led, well, not just Greg Males, but like Donkey Kong Country, Banjo-Kazooie, the villains the main primary antagonists are never static. They're always evolving, and their losses, their defeats actually inform where they go next. And it doesn't feel like with something like Bowser, where it just doesn't matter. Everything gets reset, and he always comes back and tries the same thing. With a K. Rool, with a Gruntilda, and now with a capital B, you've got essentially, yes, this defeat actually impacted them, and now they're coming back at you from a different angle, and I love that.
It seems like capital B in the beginning of the first game was really, still evil and will do crazy things, but is level-headed.
Yeah.
And uses that level-headedness to advance his business goals and just try actual strategies.
Yeah.
And by the end of that game, before the end of that game, but by the end of that game, Capital B has just gotten so pissed off at Yooka-Laylee that the anger has maybe overridden that.
He seems a bit mustache twirly in this trailer.
And this one is gone. It's like he's been put in a book and like outcast by Yooka-Laylee. It's gone way too far.
It's like a revenge plot.
Yeah.
For those of you watching on YouTube, can I just say we've got an excellent illustration of this to my right here. Capital B in Yooka-Laylee is Mitchell. Capital B in Impossible Lair is Jeff.
This is your brain on Yooka-Laylee. The thing, so you're right. I think that he in the first game, Yooka-Laylee, Capital B's whole plot is irrelevant of Yooka and Laylee. Like he doesn't know of them as entities. And this game, it's more like all that stuff you did to be a wrench in my gears. Now my whole life is around you now. Like it's a revenge plot in a way almost. Maybe not directly, but clearly he's gone on a more aggressive villainous bent to take over, not in the business sense of a hostile takeover, but a literal militaristic takeover of an area. Yeah, it's a huge change.
I like that they're getting away from the business angle because I loved it for Yooka-Laylee, but you can do more with these characters and you don't pigeonhole them or beehole them. Beehive them.
Don't bat-hole them.
So I really like the Capital B. Despite his name remaining Capital B, he can be much more than just a light jab at
That's
corporate.
so important to me that his name stay Capital B, on account of it's the best pun that has been made yet in the world.
Clearly, we love progression.
If he gets a little crazy, he can be Cursive B.
I want the little ones, the battalion people.
Well, we haven't brought up
I just
the plot
want to say
yet.
that I think they should be called lowercase b's.
Well, the suggestion is now out there. I don't think they're going to change it, but you've spoken your mind.
If you didn't want me to do that, maybe I don't. You put a microphone in the middle of the table.
If we're not going to talk about what could be in the game, we should probably stop.
Yeah.
I know, but it's already been established what they're called, so it.
Sure.
Has it?
Yeah. The Battalion Guard.
Sure, but we don't know what they're like individually called.
No. Well, I mean, like on an individual basis.
I guess you're talking specifically about like the faction.
They are called the Battalion Guard. That's a faction.
Like Koopa Troop.
Like Crunch is ostensibly a critter. Like
we don't have to get that into it. It was just a little joke idea, and Hyle made it clear to me that that's not appreciated when it comes out of my mouth. But
look at your mouth; it's a mess right now.
It's made of lips and teeth like all of you, and I will not sit here and be disparaged. You don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
Do I not bleed?
You sit there on your high tower with your ivory teeth.
In your ivory tower.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So they're called the Battalion, B-Town.
B-Town, because everything's a B pun.
Which is my favorite.
Yeah.
Yes.
Puns are good.
The more forced they are, the funnier they get. Despite me arguing otherwise with all your puns.
It's when they do it, it's funny.
Yeah, well, yeah. I just have so much contempt for you.
Yeah. Well, I did kill your dog that one time.
Are we going to talk about story or gameplay? What's next?
Well, I don't know what the best. Okay, Mr. Time Management. Just because you're wearing that authoritative suit jacket doesn't mean you can boss me around.
Do you think that the guy with the bandana is the leader? Because I think it is.
Ninja Turtles, are those bandanas?
Gameplay.
Okay.
Let's do gameplay.
I'm the only one who's on brand right now with my ukulele shirt. Cameron is representing the first ukulele.
I
Captain, my
had
captain,
to
let's do
sell
gameplay.
all my possessions because I'm a homeless just drifter now. That's my whole thing. Character progression.
Character progression.
Character
So
progression.
do you want to do gameplay or story?
You
We're
know,
kind of already embedded in story right
So
now.
we're gonna do story.
and then we'll get into gameplay.
The
I said
title
at the
of the
same time
game.
You, but after you, because
No,
you're in
but
charge.
you and I are so vibing right now because you don't hate me. Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair is the title of the game.
That's true.
Now that says a lot about the story, don't you think, Hyle? Why are you laughing? I'm trying to keep you on task.
The thing
you
is,
you look
it
like
says
a
a
very
lot about the
sad
story,
clown.
but I'm not sure what it says about the story just yet.
So they claim the Impossible Lair, which some people have a problem with this this title.
I don't like it. I'll be
It's-
Well, by some
little
people, I
wordy.
meant Mitchell.
It's a
Clearly,
little wordy, but-
clearly, I meant Mitchell.
I love every part of what I saw in the trailer. Literally, except the title.
I think Cameron was the one who said it reminds him a bit of Indiana Jones, and
I thought-
that sells it on.
I thought Harry
like-
Potter, like the Yooka-Laylee in the
yeah.
Chamber of Secrets.
Like what it reminded me of specifically was like the non-film Indiana Jones media,
So the non-canon stuff.
Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis.
yeah.
You know what I'll say is that wordy titles are not bad, but I like them when they have a pun in there, like Diddy's Conquest. Donkey Kong Country 2
Grabbed by
Diddy's
the Ghoulies.
Conquest is a
Yeah.
long title.
As I said, I
There's a good
think
pun in there.
perception of the title is affected by the fact that we don't quite know what the
What
Impossible
it-
Lair
And they
is.
claim that's I mean the Impossible Lair in the trailer itself. It's like this Impossible Lair. What is it? But
Well,
Maybe it is a pun.
So there's 4 different ways you can use subtitles.
oh my God, you've really planned this
No.
out.
There are colons. There's or. There's and in.
What that? Okay.
And I think is maybe the most complex.
You
and
can't
least
use from or of.
Of would be the same as in, and from
Now
is
hold it.
not. Bad.
Is of the same as in?
Yeah. Well,
I
yeah.
think they're different
So,
words.
so back in Shakespeare's time, everyone used or. Every
Oh.
single subtitle was
God.
or. Like Twelfth Night or What You Will. And it's basically an alternative title because they used or, right? So you could say it's this title, or if you don't like it, this title.
Doctor Strangelove or How I Stopped Worrying.
Frankenstein or the Prometheus monster.
Clearly, some of
Frankenstein or
these
the
titles,
Post
people
Malone.
made decisions pretty firmly.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first one. It was whatever was before the or. That said, that was the idea of the subtitle. The subtitle formed an alternative title. But as soon as you get out of the or format, you have a few different options for like what you want to say about the subtitle. So if it's a colon, the first part can be a series or like an overarching story, and this thing after the colon is just like this specific section. No longer an alternate title, you know? Legend of Zelda is the big deal. Breath of the Wild is the individual one. That's what a colon does.
But I think Breath of the Wild was the bigger deal. Because nobody's like, I really like The Legend of Zelda.
But-
Breath of the Wild is inside of Breath of the Wild is inside of Legend of Zelda, though.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that point, but
Sure.
I'm just saying The Legend of Zelda isn't the bigger deal.
The in one is, I think, interesting considering. I'll put my thumb away so you can see that I'm on
Okay.
number 3 of 4.
Okay. So this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the in is interesting because someone dug out of the Steam database, so this is public knowledge now, that the game was originally going to be called Yooka-Laylee in Plan B. I think that's a better title.
Plan B spelled B-E-E.
B-E-E.
Oh, I
because
get it.
Like one of those little buggy boys.
That's a better title for like 4 different reasons. Like it's about bees, so it's wordplay. I think Plan B is just easier to remember and easier to say. But in, as a job of being like a subtitle conjunction, what in does is says the second part is actually the default main name of the thing.
Well, it's
Where-
cartoon naming convention.
Yeah,
It's like
the first part is like a description. Yooka-Laylee are in. Quentin Tarantino presents.
I love
Daffy
that we're
Duck
having
and
this
Duck 'em
discussion,
Up.
Yeah.
by the way.
This is super detailed. And the bottom line of it is that you wanted to say is you like that one better than the one we got.
Because I think, is a destructive subtitle. Because what it means is that no longer can you use any one part of the name as its full name. You can't shorten it. Because if it's... You
can just call it Impossible Lair once we get all familiar with it.
I mean, people call it The Last Crusade or Last
Chamber
Crusade.
of Secrets, the Prisoner of Azkaban.
If you cut off the second part, it's just Yooka-Laylee. That's already a thing. If you cut off the first part, that's just Impossible Lair, which, because it's not a pun and because it's kind of hard to say, and because we don't even know what the Impossible Lair is yet, and that's like part of the fiction of the game, that I don't think we're going to know about it, what the Impossible Lair is, until the game comes out.
We don't know it's not a pun.
We don't, I guess.
Now there are two different ways I can think of the word layer can be a pun.
Whoa, dude, no spoilers, please.
What?
Jeff, no spoilers.
I'm just... what?
Why are we even discussing this? I don't want to be spoiled for this game.
You could say layer as in layers. Background layer, foreground layer.
But you would spell that with a Y.
But the point is, if you said this is an impossible layer, but it is a gauntlet of levels...
Is that a heart you just did?
Let me talk, Hyle. Or I'll just leave.
You have no place to go.
I'll go to bed. I'll go to bed in your bed.
You can't even operate the elevator without the key.
I'll sleep on your side of it. You'll be so disoriented.
And then I'll have to smell in your stank.
I'll kick your socks
I'll have to
around.
sleep in your stank.
Layer has like background layer, foreground layer. That's a big thing they
I've never
play
heard
with.
I'll kick your socks around. It's such a definitive threat.
They played around
Kick
a
them all
lot
around.
with layers. In Donkey Kong Country Returns, in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, a big gameplay element of those was playing with layers, foreground and background. That could be a pun. The other thing would be lay her.
No.
Okay.
So Flint from the DK Vine forum suggested that it might be a pun on the phrase impassable liar, but at the same time, Flint explained that he's not English as his native language, and he was guessing that is a thing to say.
I appreciate the moxie involved in that, but
I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
No, we need to move along. I think the bottom line is, I think some people at Playtonic would have loved the first title, but I think that maybe we'll appreciate it when we find out more about what it implies, what it delineates within the game. Either way, we can't change it. It is what it is. And what, Hyle? Everything I say is just some fucking joke to you, isn't it?
No, you're just a delight. You're like a ball of comic energy right now.
It is what it is.
You are a ball of something. I don't...
Well, so I like every part of the trailer other than that.
We're getting hung up on this one part.
The story, can we talk about the Stingdom, the Royal Stingdom?
So, yeah, the story, the basic gist of the plot, or is that gist? Because we've been arguing about GIF versus GIF.
That is a really good argument from your side.
People find me delightful, Jeff.
Why is it? It's
Jeff. People find me delightful, and they want this. They want what's coming out of my mouth.
I used to like you, but then I met you. And you wore me down like a pumice stone on a skin tag.
I like how you're making callbacks to things that we didn't even record.
Yeah, they didn't need to know that was a callback, but you were like, I'm not going to let Jeff have this one. So you just point that out. Now the people at home are like, oh, Jeff's an idiot.
No, I'm trying to help you out by saying Jeff is actually representing.
And the Royal Stingdom.
Yeah, let me do it. I want to do it.
Then do
Hyle
it.
is on drugs, but you should do it, I think.
I think you're allowed to do it.
All right. So basically, Capital B comes back. Now we don't know if this involves the faux Tribal Stack Tropics book he and Quack were sucked in back in the day, back yonder times. But he comes back and he shows up in a place called the Royal Stingdom, which we're not sure if this is sort of the like the pullback of where Shipwreck Creek is, or if the Royal Stingdom is another grand tome. There's some debate, there's some argument, there's some fisticuffs involved with what this is. People have been getting shivved. marriages have broken up over this.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, it's been like the society's in chaos right now.
You really miss out on the news when you're at E3.
You do.
The streets of LA are suddenly dangerous, and I assume that it wasn't a thing.
There's a reason we're locking our door tonight, people.
This is the first time I've been here, and it did seem dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, it was only because of Yooka-Laylee.
Did that guy today who
There was a guy.
we did not have a Viking circle us today on a bike, but
What happened today?
there
It was an entirely different type of guy.
he was a tiki. He was a tiki this time, but luckily we knew exactly where to jump on him.
Oh, he had a lot to say, but it was all to himself.
Well, yeah.
But it was mostly about whether or not the Royal Stingdom was a grand tome or the overarching.
I don't think
world.
it's a grand tome. I think the overworld is what I think
I
it is.
I hope it is. I hope.
And I don't think it'll be tomes within
So
tomes.
in the beginning of the trailer, we see a pullback of a slightly stylistically reduced Shipwreck Creek.
Yes.
Like we see only a part of the ship.
The
Yeah.
bat
Shipwreck
ship
Creek,
crazy,
as it
yeah.
would maybe
batshit
look
crazy.
in a side scroller, similar to how DK's treehouse in DK64. Whether you want to argue it's a different treehouse,
It's
or
the
not.
watchtower that he looks at the golden banana horde from Cameron Reigle.
but it's
Leave his
present.
name out of it.
Yeah.
You're gonna dox him?
No, yeah.
No,
please don't dox Cameron.
Please don't dox
Don't
anyone.
dox
Don't-
anyone.
No.
We'll
no
believe
dox.
Cameron's name from this, so it's
Don't
fine.
dox
Right.
Mitchell Wolfe.
Oh, Cameron, how you doing?
hanging in there. But my
Cameron
point-
is so lucid, and it's
My
frustrating.
point
when you
is,
are
it's
that way.
it's a concession for presentation, maybe.
And everyone's
Yeah,
like,
probably because just being a 2D platformer and everything, and it really doesn't look like too many literal assets are reused from. The
No,
first
not
game.
even Yooka-Laylee themselves look like the same models that were in
Yeah.
the first game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem lower poly, which I think would be accounted for in the fact that they're going to be further away from the camera at all times.
Yeah,
And they're now a cockroach and a bald eagle, which I find it's really
They're
bad for
interesting
continuity.
creative
But yeah,
choice,
yeah.
But
I'm worried about Hyle. And I also want to say that there's kind of a theory, well, not a theory, but something that we've discussed possibly.
That's a theory.
Is that, no, that's not a theory. That one,
hypothesis.
what if the Royal Stingdom is sort of this game's version of the Isle of
already
Hags?
said that.
Sort of. Did you saying a lot of things involving cockroaches and Vikings and things and
You were there for the Viking.
yeah, but you keep looking at me with the glazed over look in your eyes and that crazy man smile.
This is literally the most listened to podcast that will cover this from a fan perspective.
We need to discuss this.
And I think we're doing a bang up job. A plus,
something's
B
picked
plus,
up.
B plus.
B plus. Well, great. I'm
Aim
glad
high,
that you
yeah.
lowered it because I would agree.
No,
I
we have to lower it for the pun, Mitchell.
My point is that what this will do for Yooka-Laylee in a way that maybe a spin-off with another character wouldn't have done is that it will expand on our knowledge of their homeland or the world that Yooka-Laylee take place in.
Right.
And that's cool to see. Expanding on that in the way that only a sequel that they say is not a sequel would do.
Because it's honestly frustrating we have no greater context for Shipwreck Creek, and that bothered me. And I tweeted
but we're getting it.
I tweeted at Andy Robinson back in the day, and he didn't respond. And I was
Well,
like,
he
I mean,
your
that's the
game.
whole thing. It's
You
you
responded now.
introduce a vaguely defined concept so that when you hit upon ideas to define it later, you can build upon them.
Yeah.
no, I want
Like a
everything explained
Build-A-Bear
to me
workshop.
now. I want. This is really exciting. The concept of the Royal Stingdom, because it also might give us further context for Capital B himself, being a bee man, and there is this kingdom of bee people, or just bees,
Or
if
beetle.
you will. Yeah.
Well, just like Gruntilda, in Banjo Tooie, we saw the expansion outside of Spiral Mountain to the Isle of Hags in general. And also, just like the Isle of Hags, the Royal Stingdom is named after the species that the bad guy is.
Yeah, there were more witches in.
But in this case, these are good bees.
Now,
Well,
you mentioned a
yeah.
bee man, but I think we need to talk about a particular bee woman.
Right.
So the Queen Bee,
Yeah.
Phoebe.
Phoebe,
Queen Phoebe.
Phoebe the queen bee.
Dr. Queen Phoebe,
Esquire.
Oh,
jinx!
Yeah! Excellent!
I don't actually know what her role is in this game.
No, nobody does.
No, okay. So I think it's going to be a lot.
She seems to be a big deal because her
Nice.
Like
Yeah,
statue,
that's it.
her
That's it.
statue is prominent in the trailer in one of the level environments.
And actually, I think later again in that same level, another statue of her.
But by the way, can I just say Gibbons in the live stream chat, and he says, "I'm so tanked," and I don't.
You're so tanked. You probably think the song is about you.
You wrote a song for me, Jay?
I did. I wrote that. I came up with the melody and everything. She seems important. She's on the cover
key art, yeah.
and
Yeah.
she's got like some tonics or potions near her that I think.
Well, Vendy's in the game too.
Right, but I'm telling you, there are some tonics or potions near her. She has to have some kind of role that involves that. I'm thinking she's going to be one of the, my brain calls them Kong family helpers, but
Yeah.
even Banjo had those too.
I-
the mumbo jumbo of the game, and
I also think a good comparison would be the Banana Fairy Princess from Donkey Kong 64.
right,
Sure.
and an NPC
Just like
that
an
has a
alternative-
gameplay role that persists to all worlds, not just an NPC that exists for one pagey.
Or like even the Queen Banana Bird, like a active big good in the plot who isn't actively the protagonist.
Yeah, their gameplay role persists beyond one pagey into a gameplay purpose that is through the whole game. And yeah, she's one of those. She's like a trouser, Vendy. We just don't know what she does.
Well, so we will circle back to Queen Phoebe because there's an important point about her we need to discuss. But her role is that the royal battalion, I think that's her royal guard, and they have all been taken by capital B.
Hive mind.
The hive mind device, which would
Puns
imply to
on
me.
puns on puns.
Now, that would imply to me, without any further context, to be a brainwashing scenario where, like, capital B is making them his minions.
Yeah.
But from studying the trailer, like the Zapruder footage, they might be trapped in hives. They might actually be imprisoned. So we don't really know exactly how the royal battalion will fit into it. But they are definitely Queen Phoebe's her soldiers or her
baby brothers.
First off, Kennedy assassination. I got it. I understood.
What?
Second
yeah,
off,
for sure.
You know, I love.
I just wanted you to know it was good.
Yeah,
Second
I've got
off,
Kennedy's hair, so because his scalp
Dude,
blew off, so they
You just
transplanted
kept
it.
the
Yeah.
top?
Well, we had to do something with
That-
it.
Everyone who's ever
belongs
lived
to
in Texas has a
Jackie.
little bit of Kennedy's.
I never lived in Texas.
You've never lived in Texas.
No.
Dude, but have you been in Texas?
Oh yeah.
Oh, gross.
I thought you went to college in Texas, didn't you?
No, I just wrote for the TV station there. Obviously.
Oh,
Dude,
okay.
What a story. All right.
Anyway, I think you're basically right. I assume that you're gonna see Phoebe early on in the game. She's going to explain to you. She's not going to be a damsel in distress, but she's going to explain that all of these other bees are. Whoa, where'd you get that?
Whoa, David Blaine, calm down.
Yeah. Look at you, David Hasselhoff. So she's gonna say, okay, all capital B's from the safety of the Grand home that he was trapped in.
Yeah.
Has he's lured the bees in the royal Stingdom, the ones that used to defend her or were noble families, whatever. I don't know their whole thing. To his side, they've brainwashed him, and every level that you beat. And you can see this in the trailer. There's an icon of a bee, like a minor bee person.
So on the well, I guess we're calling the box art, but on the gorgeous, I believe Dean Wilson, because his initials are in the side. I believe Dean Wilson was the one who did the key art for what we see. You can see these battalion members flanking the sides, and they all seem to have different designs, but they match up with what we see on the overworld when you go to the level.
Yeah, it looks like that could be a goal or a completion measurement tool. Beat the level, rescue the bee.
Exactly, like your like level completion identifier in the UI seems to be if it's not complete.
B.
I'm going to say B an awful lot.
Yeah, that's one of the words that just happens.
It does,
but it's magical when it does.
It'd be
in the UI, it looked to me like if you like levels that were completed had just the bee there. And levels that were not completed had a hive with a silhouette of a bee inside them.
He said bee again.
So I think you got to crack the hive. like basically a Mario flagpole at the end.
I'm thinking
more like a Donkey Kong Country 3 flagpole.
Maybe a Donkey Kong Country Returns,
I mean, there's a lot of different
punch.
language signifiers like this, like DKC3, like the flag, how it waves in the wind depending on how many secrets you found. Mario 64, the stars you haven't gotten are displayed in blue, like transparent.
Yeah. In Donkey Kong Country 3, I think, has my favorite version of that, where the flag that is marking every level, if you have not beaten it, has a flag insignia of the enemy. And once you beat it, it becomes the color. And then once you beat it and find the DK coin, the super hidden, collectible, then it's got the yellow flag.
And the thing to Ghost Riders.
In concept, the thing it reminds me most of is what Spyro the Dragon, the first 3 games would do. Like in the first game, before you rescue the dragon, they're statues. They're generic dragon statues, and you clear them, and it's a regular dragon. And then the third game with the dragon eggs, which is probably a really direct comparison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we also saw, when you look at the level showing your progress, you either have rescued the bee or you haven't, and there's also 5 bubbles, clearly of collectibles that you either have or have not collected, and those have got to be the Ghost Riders.
Which cracks me up that the Ghost Riders just getting into trouble again.
Yeah, well,
you have to ask yourself, what makes them ghosts? They died. Why did they die? They're troublemakers or trouble beer.
Trouble seems to follow them around.
Yeah, they have to. That's lore, deep lore.
No one who's ever died wasn't in trouble.
Well, if you die and become a ghost, and then as a ghost frequently are still in trouble, you might be the problem.
You're right. Yeah.
You're the common denominator.
If you run into an asshole in the morning, you run into an asshole. But if you keep running into assholes all day, you're the asshole.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I made that one up. I wrote that myself.
Every friend group has a Hyle, and if yours doesn't, you're the Hyle. Oh, no. Hyle just gave me genuinely the saddest look I've ever seen on a human face. It was more like a cartoon sad. It was just artistically sad in a way that maybe chipped something off me, soul-wise.
The way his face seemed like poorly painted, which I didn't think.
It was genuinely like you're trying to make a really upsetting, sad clown painting.
Yeah, but you just went too gauche with it.
Tears.
Yeah, if you jam your finger in your eye, you can always pull off liquid. That's all know.
That's true for any part of the body, Jeff.
Well, we're gonna test that, but first we're gonna talk about Yooka-Laylee.
I really like the snippets of the plot. That's Banjo-Kazooie. I apologize. I really like the Pinchleys,
the bottles of the plot.
What are they called in Returns? The crab people?
Pinchleys.
The Pinchleys. Captain Greenbeard.
They're not really... I want to say this on the record. Crabs aren't always crab people. Sometimes a crab is a crab.
Yeah.
No, that's true. No, but I like how...
Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Sometimes a crab's just a crab.
You made that one. That's really good. Can I use that?
Why was his better than mine?
I don't know. It just reminded me of my mother.
It did come. It did come out of his mouth. That's better.
No. From the little bits of the plot we've gotten, I adore this story already more than Yooka-Laylee. Like, I think this is just, it's different, and it adds so much context and flavor to this world that it makes me a bigger fan of it even before I even play the game. And I got that with Country 2. Country 3 had a weird plot that I didn't understand until I actually beat the game, and I still don't really understand it. But
yeah, that's kind of its charm. But it's not for everyone.
No, I love this, and
Banjo-Tooie. Whether everyone has a preference on gameplay, which of those 2 games you like better, but it's pretty safe to say Banjo-Tooie makes everyone like the world of Banjo better.
Yeah,
and so much of it is they had the foundation set in Banjo-Kazooie and in Donkey Kong Country that a lot of the characters you meet have pre-existing history.
Yes.
Yeah. And both Country and Kazooie had very simplistic, almost stupid plots, and both Country 2 and Tooie pulled the camera back, showed greater context for the world and for these villains and why they do the things they do, and made things ever so much more complicated, and
Yeah.
built on that very, very basic, stupid structure. And I feel like this does it.
And I think you
as
can't always go into that in the first game because one,
you
it's,
have to lay the foundation.
From a definition,
because
it's built on something else having already been there.
you can only force so much information on a player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that we know that people working at Playtonic, that
We
they're
know
the
them.
type of people
Yeah.
who love this shit. You know, they want to
Gavin
build this,
Price
they
is
want
just
to build
like
that
a lore
universe.
hound.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
that
Yeah.
lore. They want to expand that story. And you're right, Cameron, that you can only put so much in the first game before, you know, it has become too many. And
Going back to Queen Phoebe, we need to point out that Daly is voicing her, which I don't know if if it's going to be the garbled Yooka-Laylee speak. Or
I
if
hope
it's-
so, because that's always my favorite. But even in garble speak, you can get someone's voice through that. Like you can be
There's
like,
nothing I can get out of this anymore.
Do you want more?
for
No, that's a bad idea.
now, hold on.
Mitchell.
For everyone who's not watching
Yeah,
the
it is.
video, Hyle is talking about his alcoholic beverages, not this conversation.
No.
Because he can
yeah.
get a lot more out of the
Yeah,
conversation.
no. But I think we're all just so immensely happy for Daly, and it's just so cool.
You know, I'm happy for her, but I kind of selfishly am more happy for me as a fan of her to have her in the game. I'm like, yes, this makes me happy.
Well, there's notes of Alcock, right? Like, there's notes of someone being just an intense fan, someone that we could probably relate to in that way, and then just moving up through the...
But Daly absolutely deserved. Not that Alcock wouldn't deserve it either, but you know, it's like it's
just the vicarious. For me, it's the vicarious knowledge that like a person is thrilled to play this part.
and she's just such an awesome person and such a positive force in this community that it's like yes, especially in a Donkey Kong Country inspired game.
And she is a huge Donkey Kong Country fan.
Yes.
Like, you know, not apologetically, not secretively at all.
No.
Very openly. Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country
Really, I
2.
hadn't noticed. I mean, her Twitter handle being Daily Kong.
Right.
She just likes the dog chew toys.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
They are shaped like beehives.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you put the peanut butter in there?
We can't even rightfully assume that's Donkey Kong in that case. That's probably the dog toy.
They're really playing a long game with this one.
Yeah, I know.
I'm a little lost. I don't know.
No, that's fine. We're getting off track here, and Mitchell hasn't admonished me for it yet, so I'm honestly quite surprised.
But you know, I'll say
TikTok.
I like the culture at Playtonic
TikTok.
that you can only get in a sort of the small, medium-sized studio that Playtonic is,
Yeah.
and that's independent. That the culture of collaboration, people from different parts of the company being like, "Hey, do you want to in on this? You want to write something here? Do you want to provide a voice?" And I think other companies do that. They even maybe at Rare, certainly they have allowed people from all parts of the company to have a part in the game. But I think at
And
Playtonic,
Enron, they did, but
Now-
it kind of went poorly for them.
Enron is tomorrow's podcast, but we'll come back to that.
E3
I just said
2019
that
Enron,
collaboration, that sort of environment of everybody's a big part of this.
Yeah.
Everybody at the team it's a team effort, all hands on deck. Everybody's contributing, and then everybody's super invested in the success of that. Everyone is getting the same jitters on that day
Yeah, totally.
when you're revealing the trailer and you're
Yeah,
waiting
yeah,
for the
yeah.
reaction, and that's such an exciting day for
But
everyone.
I love, just to wrap up our discussion of Queen Phoebe, just having Daly voice her already makes me a huge Queen Phoebe fan. Like, even before I even know anything about her, it's like, oh, okay, I love this
absolutely.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
I get the same feeling in Sea of Thieves because one of the pirate skeleton captains that can pop up is Deadly Daly. Is that right?
Yeah.
She's also
And,
the voice of the weaponsmith on, I think, Galleon's Grave.
Yes.
Yeah. but-
Willow.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Exactly. But specifically with the skeleton bounty captains, which are all named after Rare employees. Every time I recognize that name and it's Daly or it's Joni or somebody, I'm like, yes, I'm really excited.
Yes, I get
to
this-
kill.
yeah.
Excited to slay that character because I'm like, I know them.
Well, and it's like, I use the
Conversely, this is why Perfect Dark is very creepy to me now because I know these faces that were
Yeah.
meant to be generic
Yeah.
and unrecognizable.
And I mean, I exclusively use the Daily
Kind of-
gun in
kind of
Sea
a weird
Thieves,
thing to
too,
do.
So
Playtonic has been pretty insistent that this is not a sequel, which I understand why they're saying that because it's different genre, but it seems a little bit like honestly underselling the lore connections.
I think it's what they want to try to say is it's a narratively a sequel. In gameplay, not so much. Like, I compared it, and I swear this is favorable. This is the Kongversation. I compared it to Star Fox Adventures, which follows the plot of Star Fox 64, and every Star Fox game after it until Zero kept the events of Star Fox Adventures in continuity, but the gameplay is completely different.
I think it's
Star
like
Fox
this.
64.
You leave yourself open if you did want to do another Collectathon 3D platformer starring Yooka-Laylee, and you could say, this is Yooka-Laylee 2.
Yeah.
And that is where you leave the room open. The way that Yooka-Laylee in the Impossible Lair has the subtitle on it, and they say, this is not a sequel. Narratively, yes. The plot moves in a linear fashion from Yooka-Laylee to this to the next thing, but in more nebulous ways, it's not a sequel, quote unquote. And I see what they're going with that because you can have Yooka-Laylee 2 if you want to. Leaves you open for that possibility.
You can dance if you want to.
You can leave your friends behind.
I think that's what you all want to do to me right now.
Behind. B is like.
I hope there is a behind in this game.
There's
that would be right up the alley.
That would be right up your
are you
asshole.
saying you literally hope that one of the bees turns around ever?
No, I just hope like there's an ass fetishist in the that's a bee.
What?
Oh,
behind.
That's worse than what I thought.
Yours is so awful, Hyle.
No, and they have a fetish for their own ass, and they're like, check out my ass.
But then you have to
I feel like you're
mirror.
trying to defend this point and digging the hole deeper.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how deep it goes until we really get
You're
to know this bee.
burying
have to get to the
yourself.
bottom.
This was not a yes and.
Everything is a yes and. Life is a yes and, Cameron, and you need to realize that.
Today we've learned the flaw in that. So
No, but the scope of this game is a lot smaller than the first, and I think that's probably why they're saying it's not a sequel. Just because
by nature of the genre, it would almost have to be.
Yeah,
stop it.
I can't.
When you have a sequel to a 3D platformer, you would assume like a little bit bigger, a little bit like more refined in some certain ways. 2E is obviously a lot bigger than Banjo, but also like Galaxy 2 is bigger than Galaxy. Kind of that kind of stuff. And this is not only smaller in scope from what we assume is an easier time developing. Maybe we're totally wrong, but I would assume that the first Yooka-Laylee was extraordinarily hard to develop, and all games are hard to develop, but this one might be like, we know what we're capable of, and this is in our reality for sure.
I think it's good for a multitude of reasons that they're doing this. Because they claim it's coming out this year, and things can go wrong. We'll wait and see. But I think there is a quicker turnaround time for this than there would have been if they just did another 3D platformer or they did another genre. I think.
Yeah, there's a reason that 2D platformers are. I want to claim, and I will, that they're the most common genre for indie developers.
Sure.
And you're not going to argue with that, and because you just let me have it. But 3D platformers are less common, and there's a reason for that. Indie developers have a certain reality of budgetary constraints, time constraints. There's just an added level of complexity in 3D space.
Yeah.
And I think that limiting yourself to that dimension, it doesn't limit the scope of your game. It doesn't limit the passion you have for it or the perception of how cool it is, but it does remove a lot of the complexity that is going to push you up to that wall of the time constraint.
It's an entire axis of movement.
Yeah, but 3D worlds too are harder to build.
Yeah.
More time consuming to build.
Even than these ones, these 2D levels, which seem like Tropical Freeze, to have just like a lot of stuff in the background, just a lot of individual models and elements.
I'm not
Even
belittling it
even that
at all, but
you always have a fixed camera, so they know what you can see, and they build the environment to be what you can
everything
see.
can be composed like a photograph.
Yes.
Or a like cinematic.
We don't
shot.
have an actual 3D world in the background. As soon as you could pan the camera behind that, anything that is never in your view doesn't exist. They build it deliberately to have just the assets they need to fill out a background where your fixed camera point will actually see that. And if you're not going to see it, it doesn't have to exist. And that is how you build those things. It's, save yourself a lot of energy that way.
And I've heard, reaction to this has been almost universally positive among the fan community and the general public. I think back when they first announced Project Yooka-Laylee and they launched the Kickstarter, I think starting the studio with an ambitious 3D platformer was the absolute right decision because there was more demand for that then.
I think it was the expectation.
And they were able to get funding. They had a massively successful Kickstarter. I also think there was some general fatigue around the 2D platformer around the time. You look at Tropical Freeze's initial reaction when it came out. I think now is the time. The time is more right to do a 2D platformer. They're established, and also there's not this general stigma around to the.
And you know what? We're getting into the realm of gameplay talk, and I want to talk on one thing real quick. Is that we've spent a lot of time describing this as a Donkey Kong Country-like game, which is clearly the inspiration.
But that's a positive.
I see where you're going.
But where I'm going with this is, and we've also described this as this is a 2D platformer. Yeah. This is a Donkey Kong Country-like game, but there's so much more to it than that, which is yes, it's got seemingly Tropical Freeze-looking worlds or side-scrolling levels. But the overworld, outside of those levels, is a top-down, three-dimensional realm of kind of adventure. They call it a 2D adventure hybrid, I think is what they said. And that hybrid, I think, is such an important word for it because, this is a different gameplay style included in this game. That is not. It's not just like one level. This is a big part of the game.
It's not entirely. It wasn't entirely clear to me watching the trailer how large of a part of the game this is going to be. But then you look at the key art, and the key art is kind of defined by this.
The key art takes place in the overworld.
Yeah.
It is the.
But the overworld seems to be the royal Stingdom that this takes place in, and then in each of the 2D levels takes place within the Grand Tome that I think is alluded to be. Within the fiction of this... I know, yeah. It's got some bees in there. It does. I think it's alluded to be in the fiction of this trailer.
It's almost like it's pronounced the same as one of 26 letters that we compose every word out of.
It is almost like that. Not entirely, but almost. The book that Capital B and Dr. Quack were swooshed into at the end.
We don't know this though, and there's been no whiff of Quack yet.
But I mean, that's where it left off. So we have to assume forward in the story.
The end of the last game leads directly into this somehow.
Although, for all we know, Yooka-Laylee and the Cracklestone is the bridge.
In between.
The bridge. So gameplay wise, can we talk about that overworld? And well, two things. One, I wanted to say what we had mentioned earlier. The fact that these aren't, it's not starring a Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong analog, immediately adds a dimension to it as, yes, it's a Donkey Kong inspired game, but because it stars Yooka and Laylee, who were designed around a 3D world, with their unique ability set, that means that gameplay-wise, this is going to have its own spin.
Well, they're kind of an analog for Donkey and Diddy, but in the retro era.
In a different way. In a different way, certainly. And, but it will add a whole spin that makes it different from Donkey Kong Country in just the right amount of way that you want it to be. Because you don't want just another kind of very clearly... I don't like the word knockoff, but what I'm saying is the differences from this and Donkey Kong Country are what is going to make it endearing.
Yeah, and I would also say to that, this is a problem, an image problem like Donkey Kong games have had where people think of them as just other 2D platformers. Donkey Kong Country is historically a very specific kind of platformer, and it's inspired by, say, Mario, but it's a very specific thing all its own, and what Impossible Lair is kind of turning into is this is inspired by Donkey Kong Country, but it's also its own very specific thing.
And in terms of ways in which it is different, and I think a big part of, we've mentioned Tropical Freeze a couple times, I think what makes us beg for that comparison is that there's no buddy switching mechanic like Donkey and Diddy. It's more like Laylee is on Yuka's back like Retros games.
Now, we don't necessarily know yet, if there's going to be any, losing Laylee.
And the fact that it is a 3D environment instead of,
It's the presentation for me, because 3D characters in a 3D composed background.
That makes me think of Retros
The second you get to the overworld, those comparisons go out the window completely.
The ways in which it's different are what interests me.
Here's what really sold me on the overworld, and it's one of my biggest criticisms, and this was actually a minor criticism because I still love the game, but when Returns came out, I really wanted it to build on where the Donkey Kong Country series left off, and that taking the best elements from Country 3 and incorporating that, building on that structure while still doing its own thing. And I don't really feel like it did. And where Country 3 really excelled on the formula was the map screen. And
absolutely.
It was more of an interactive map screen where you actually had more control over the characters, you had more to do. And I felt like Returns just went back, almost further back than even the first two Donkey Kong Country games. It was more of a new Super Mario Brothers style map screen. This overworld feels like the natural evolution of where Rare left off with Donkey Kong Country, because where do you build on that more interactive map screen? You just make it a complete top-down overworld.
And you know what? I think this will land, for most Donkey Kong Country fans, I think this will land even better than Donkey Kong Country 3.
For Donkey Kong Land fans?
I think that it will do better for some fans than Donkey Kong Country 3 even did, because Donkey Kong Country 3, yes, it has that overworld that is explorable, and it has sort of puzzly elements and the sort of questy elements, but the whole game is very puzzly. There's a lot of gimmicks. It's a lot of sort of slow down and think about how you're going to interact with this spot in the level that it was not as present in Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2, and that gels with some people, me, but not all people. And I think that Yooka-Laylee is going to be this happy marriage. It's going to be this smooth, fast platforming levels, which is not really what Donkey Kong Country 3 had. It's more like Donkey Kong Country 2.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Country 3's levels had a lot of puzzly stuff. But it will have the puzzly and questy stuff in the overworld. And so you get that happy marriage, you get that balance. Because I think Donkey Kong Country fans like that stuff, but they want really fluid, smooth platforming in the levels. And then you can do whatever you want in the overworld, and you know, that's what they're doing.
This is honestly, like, the more I thought about this, in my mind's eye, this is kind of the perfect combination of what I love about Donkey Kong Country and what I loved about Banjo-Kazooie and Yooka-Laylee, which is the fast-paced, well-designed, curated levels, and the character and an environment interaction of a 3D platformer.
Yeah, you're going to get those opportunities for dialogue and opportunities for puzzle solving and character interaction that you don't really get in the Donkey Kong Country games, so much as in the style of a Banjo game.
The amount of... You get some of that in the Donkey Kong Countries, at least, especially 2 and 3, but it's almost all of it is in talking to the Kong helpers.
Yeah,
it's a voluntary action
that,
you take off to the side of the main gameplay.
Certainly.
Yeah. You mentioned dialogue. This also feels like the classic dialogue between Rare and Nintendo, where Nintendo would do something and then Rare would follow up by putting their own stamp on it or their own stamper on it, and then they'd be like, okay, you did this, Nintendo. I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. And this is what we're going to do with your formula, Nintendo. We've made it better. Here you go. Try to top this. And this almost feels like Playtonic saying to Tropical Freeze, hey, like you took what some of us did with the Donkey Kong Country games. You then took it and you made Tropical Freeze. Great show. We're going to take this, reconfigure it, and present it back to you.
My opinion on the best way to describe Rare and Playtonic, right? Modern Rare and Playtonic, at least, is that they're
modern Playtonic as opposed to prehistoric Playtonic.
Right. Yes.
Let him get his point in.
They're twin daughters. That's it. That's the whole metaphor. They're twin daughters of classic Rare, where they are both descendants of the same thing. Just because modern Rare is called Rare doesn't mean that it's an extension necessarily of the same thing.
They're both they're yin yang of that. Yeah.
Twin daughters.
I would say Superman Red and Superman Blue. They're split.
I think
that's what he means when he says.
I think
twin
Mitch's whole premise is twin daughters is the best comparison. So
it's the best
metaphor you can make.
It's the best metaphor you could possibly.
It seems
make.
creepy to me. Like why?
No. They're twin daughters.
They're of age.
Well, no, but Jeff looks like the kind of guy who'd be like twins.
It's
in the bar or something.
Hold on. Every man who wears a bandana is not preying on all the twins he meets. That's I feel like the assumptions being made and leveled, the accusations.
It's the bandana and it's the shirt.
I think shirt is just comfortable.
Honestly, I think, Jeff, you could turn around your entire image problem if you just put on sunglasses, because then you'd be Funky Kong.
Yeah, but like we're indoors and it's nighttime and I don't suck. So
you don't wear your sunglasses at night.
Yeah, it's not my deal. I think the twin daughters thing is interesting.
The twin daughters thing is interesting because it seems like what Rare did a lot in classic Rare is that they were always like pushing really far forward technologically, but then also creatively doing a little bit of a leapfrog on Nintendo's. They were all the Nintendos. They were looking at Mario 64 and saying like, okay, let's see that.
Which is honestly just a smart way to monitor the industry. Look at where things are going and try to stay ahead of the curve. Yeah. And you do that by sort of following in their draft.
Ahead of the curve, but like in the same lane, right? So now that there's twin daughters, now that these daughters have been born and have grown into their own and have started doing work, modern Rare has kind of taken the technological advantage side of what classic Rare was doing, just pushing forward really far and doing really inventive original things. And Playtonic has taken the Nintendo leapfrog approach, which I think is cool, and it means that both aspects are accounted for in the modern age.
Yeah, because in the modern age, we won't get in the modern age
in the year 25.
In the age we're in modernly, you aren't going to get 5 Rare games a year. Ever again.
It's just not the way the industry works.
It's not the way the industry works. There was a time when 8 human beings could work for 2 years, and at the end of it, have a Rare game. And a studio of a number of those teams would be pumping out game after game, and they were all good. All of them. Even
the bad ones.
Even the bad ones. No, there weren't any bad ones. Even the bad ones were just average, but you think they're bad because they're not amazing, and the other ones were amazing. The point is, you can't have 3 games a year for 6 straight years or something, or however many games. Numbers don't matter. Point is, now, if we get 1 game out of Rare every 5 years, I think we'd be lucky to have that.
Jesus.
No, that's not an underestimate, because games are supported post-launch, and this is impacting Yooka-Laylee as well. That's a game that had to be supported post-launch because of certain promises that were guaranteed in the Kickstarter that maybe hamstrung them in some ways, but it was a necessary part of that game's development that we all, and we were better off for it. We like but the game is not just, 8 people can work on this for 2 years and then release it and then move on. Games have post-launch support. Games need much larger teams. And if we can't get a bunch of games a year from Rare, at the very least, we have 2 different companies with their own philosophies and their own agendas that are pushing different things that satisfy different itches of Rare fans.
And that's why I've been arguing that having both Rare and Playtonic is just such a boon for fans of Rare. Like, we essentially have 2 rares now, and like, shut up.
Yeah.
What's your problem?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's perception of it is like, wouldn't it be better if they were under the same company banner, still treated as 2 different teams, and they could both do whatever they want? And like, obviously yes, but that's not what happened. That's not where we are.
It's not the reality of people's freedom
with the cards that have been
decision-making.
dealt to everyone. I think we've really landed on a pretty good situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I think both sides are happy where they are. Whether they struggled to get there.
Everything worked out for the best in the end.
Playtonic certainly prefers the level of creative freedom that they have as an independent
I've kind
studio.
At least from the outside looking in, I have no insight on this actual, but I kind of see Playtonic as a roundabout way of having like a time capsule of the studio setup of a company like Rare in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Because Rare, by virtue of just being a very successful, popular company, has grown and grown and grown, and in the modern AAA industry, that studio setup is going to be very different from, say, like a team of 12 people working on a 3D platformer in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Long story short, it is great that we have a company like Playtonic that is, their whole philosophy is to revisit the kinds of experiences that we fans love. Things like 2D platformers or 3D platformers, or any genre they want to tackle. We can feel confident that they're going to tackle it in a way that is specifically geared towards our fandom's interests.
Yes.
And that they're going to do that consistently. And I think that our fandom hasn't had a lot of consistency for a long time.
No.
If you're a Donkey Kong Country fan, we had Retros games, and from the very beginning, it was not a stable situation. There was no assumption that Retro would continue to make Donkey Kong Country games forever.
I honestly, we didn't even see Tropical Freeze come. We were just like, it might just be done in one,
Yeah.
and then.
But we know with Playtonic that they're gonna.
Yeah, it seems
continue
like
to make
every
games.
2 years or so. I mean, I don't want to say that this 1-2 year period is a pattern, but I could expect it more or less to be ish. Like every 2 years, you'll maybe get something. 2.5 years, I don't know.
I mean, I would say it's as long as Playtonic and Rare exist as entities, they will keep pumping out stuff that I know I will be interested in.
Yeah.
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 No matter what it is.
And we're kind of at this stage at E3 before E3 begins. We're recording this the night before the Nintendo Direct and before the show floor opens of E3 proper. But I would say that even if we got nothing else this E3, this was still a damn good E3 season because we got this game. Like I'm so jazzed about this game. Jazz hands, see them? I'm so just over the moon for this that I was actually upset because they announced this on Friday. They revealed this on Friday, and we all had to travel Saturday. We all the 3 of us had to fly out. You had to pick us up and drive through LAX twice. You're welcome. But thank
Wow.
you. But thank you.
No, I won't do it again.
No.
Oh, shit.
But thank you.
We still need him to get back there.
Yeah. No, we'll just walk. Walking seems to be serving. We'll get a ride with the biking
take a
guy.
scooter. That's a sore subject. I shouldn't have said that.
But no, I was upset that we actually had to just go. I wanted to just spend a couple of more days stewing in the afterglow of Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair.
It's this perfect marriage of, as a Donkey Kong Country fan, and getting so many banjo or collectathon platformer elements in the same game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot remember the last time I dissected a gameplay trailer as much as I did the trailer for this game.
If we thought
They
hard
made
about
you
it.
dissect Frogger in high school.
I just mean rewatching. Okay,
It's been
there's
a
going
while.
to be something interesting in this particular frame, and I'm just going to go through and pause and try to.
It was pretty good. Yeah.
Well, but yeah, it wasn't as much of a frame by frame analysis as this.
The
We sat on a phone call.
K-Roll revealed trailer Probably the last one.
Well, yeah, but we sat on a phone call together and just were talking about the game, and every so often somebody would say, yeah, and pause it at 1 minute and 14 seconds or whatever. Look at this thing. This is a...
Like, I don't even think I did that with the K. Rool trailer. I feel like I loved it.
I watched it
everything
once,
that I
but,
loved about it was immediately apparent the first time I watched it.
Right.
This, I feel like it's a kind of a puzzle box right now where I can kind of like... We were able the
thing we
talked about earlier with the bees in the beehives in the UI and the levels. That was entirely. This isn't something we like read in a blurb about the game. This is something we figured out rewatching the trailer and kind of putting the pieces together.
Pause it. Oh man, what's that mean?
Yeah.
Like pause it at that interesting spot and then dissect it and talk about it with other experts. You guys are experts.
Oh, thanks.
I'm so happy to have you.
You've said to me all night.
Listen, Hyle, I admire you, and I feel like you've just been hounding me. And no, you're good.
I should say that my favorite possibility from Playtonic in the future, I think, would be a second pass at the 3D platformer. But I'm not at all disappointed that this isn't that, and I felt that before this because I think one of the biggest pieces of feedback, the biggest pieces of criticism that Playtonic got from the original Yooka-Laylee had to do with the fact that the levels were really, really big and there were so few of them, which is maybe the opposite of Banjo-Kazooie and by extension what a lot of people think the game probably should be, because it did work very well in that case. So
you want small levels,
you want
small levels,
and you want a bunch of them, and that sounds like a theoretical fair exchange for few levels but big levels. And the reality of the situation is that that's not the case. If you want to make a lot of levels, no matter how small they are, you need to make, like if there's 10 levels, you need to make 10 different themes.
No, it's not that you
levels.
need to, it's not even that you need to, like the level's too big, the solution isn't shrink it, it's you have to design the level more tightly.
Well, that's true
and
too.
that's more... That increases the scope of what you're doing.
Where Mitch is going is that you can't just make 10 levels because it's a magnitude more amount of work in asset creation. So you have to have few levels, and if you're gonna have few levels, they need to be big to make it into a full game.
Yeah. So Playtonic started developing Yooka-Laylee as a 6-person team. Now they're in their I think 20s of people, still way bigger, but still like. If they were to take a second pass at a 3D platformer, I think it would actually be harder for them to make it than the first time because they know they gotta do more levels. They gotta do more smaller levels, and that takes so much more design work and so much more artwork. Yeah. And it's just a much more expensive, time-consuming prospect. And something like the Impossible Lair, I not passes the time. Until like they're up to that level, but it does like in a very enjoyable, rewarding way builds the studio up to potentially get to that level again. Where
now is it a smaller level or is it a bigger level?
We sound like bees when we do that,
which is why we're doing it.
Yeah, we're droning.
That's
well, now you're just getting into Young Frankenstein.
They'll get to that
the
level
modern Prometheus
over time. Prometheus. We're probably done, right?
Well, no. So
I've got to pee so bad.
Okay.
We're gonna start working towards done.
You can just go and pee.
I know. I
last time.
kept feeling like we're getting close.
Okay.
I wanted to leave if it's a bad time.
Here's what I'll say. Well, here's what I'll say, Jeff. I adore every aspect of what I've seen about this game, even the title. Unlike Mitchell here. So, Mitchell, I love you. You know, I passionately adore you as well.
Me and the title.
But you're
the
just
two things you like.
But you're just
I don't know anything about this world. I
love Mitchell Wolfe and the Impossible Lair, which is your full given name.
Oh no!
I'm doing it, Kyle. I've decided to go pee.
Okay.
Because you're.
How are you getting out of here?
I don't know. I have to hop Mitchell.
All right. So yeah, this is actually like so exciting for our community, for the site, for all of us, and I just can't wait to find out more about this. And it's cool to actually have a big game. Even before we got out here, we were like, well, we have this. And already this is a great E3. So
it's tentatively the game I am most excited for this year.
yeah. Now, as is tradition in these E3 2019 episodes, it's time to discuss just a little bit about Conker's Pocket Tales. So tonight I want to discuss our favorite Conker's Pocket Tales worlds.
That feels appropriate given the symmetry we've already pointed out between the overworld we've seen with Impossible Lair.
And I believe Jeff was urinating during the Conker's Pocket Tales discussion last time.
So he should start this time.
Cameron, what is your favorite world from Conker's Pocket Tales?
I would have to think on it for a little bit. I think it might be Vultureville.
And why?
So
show your work.
So I think about individual moments I like in Conker's Pocket Tales. Like I pointed out on our last episode, I think Ted the Boat Builder is my favorite character in the game, but the area he's in the game is, I do not enjoy it. We'll end it there. And as far as other areas in the game, I feel like what is it, Crow Keep? The castle area?
Yeah.
Crow Keep, thank you. For things that I like in a game, I like, as I described with trying to describe the interplay between like the DKC-inspired elements and the Banjo-inspired and Yooka-inspired elements in Impossible Lair, the things I value in a game involve a lot of character interaction.
Yeah.
Vultureville is one of the heaviest areas in the game for that. And it's also it's one of the more unique tropes in, like, it's Cowboy World, but it's
really
a more
sets
unique,
a false expectation for like how much character work there's going to be in
kind of, but yeah, it has the whole
and
Undertaker.
You don't have to play the rest of the game.
It has the whole Undertaker scene with Conker waking up in jail. Just there are a lot of set PC moments in that, like, and I think that makes it my favorite part of Pocket Tales.
I'm glad you started, Cameron, because honestly, Vultureville is not my favorite world, like in theory, but in practice, Vultureville is my favorite world because you're absolutely right. Oops. Because I would think, like, you know, given my taste, Willow Woods or Mako Islands would be my favorite. But honestly, I kind of hate them all except Vultureville, because Vultureville is well designed. It's delightful. There's wacky plot elements. There's character. Yeah, you're absolutely right in every way. There's a shootout with Honker the Skunk in a bank. Like, it's so almost subversive. Like, when we think about Conker and Conker's Bad Fur Day and how it subverted the genres and tropes, Pocket Tales did that a little bit with Vultureville. Not so much the rest of the game, but Vultureville, yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of the part of Pocket Tales, besides elements that we've clung to like Ted or whatever, but it's the part of Pocket Tales your brain always kind of doubles back to. So yeah, it's not a cowboy Wild West world will never be my favorite in theory, but it was my favorite to play in the game.
My turn. Yeah, so I like a lot of the levels. I like a lot of the worlds. And why is that funny to you? Let me speak my truth. I like a lot of the worlds in Conker's Pocket Tales. I like Grass Hole. I like Strawberry Factory. I like Dandruff.
He was thinking about this while pissing.
No, I wasn't. I didn't know the prompt, but I got here in the middle and I kind of pieced it together.
There are thin walls in this bluff shack.
Yeah, but that only matters if you have
the
ears.
black and white version of Conker's Pocket Tales must be way more different than I thought it was.
No, yeah, there's two versions of this game, and mine had a world called Dandruff. But what I will say my favorite is, those other three fake ones aren't it. I think, unfortunately, It's Vultureville. And that's
Yeah.
unfortunate because we're just going to say that, and my friend Mitch is going to have to do that for the 4th time. I'm glad I'm not him. But I'll say, and I don't like to call it Vultureville because I'm including Rapido Ranch, which is not part of Vultureville. But it's the area, it's the Wild West region. And I'll tell you what I can say that you haven't yet said. Because everything you've said, I agree with, but I won't say again. I'll say something else, though, and that is that even in Bad Fur Day, which doesn't have a Wild West world theme.
12 Tales was going to.
It was, but Bad Fur Day doesn't have a Wild West world theme. I still feel like the Conker property, even in that game, has this sort of Western American feeling to it, and where you get it out of Barn Boys, you get it out of the bull riding sequence.
They have barns in the UK too.
Well, but the not Western American, but like
Donkey Kong
country.
Specifically wasn't raised
country settings like barns.
They have countries.
I'm not saying it's American.
They have farmland in the UK.
Remove American from what I said, and instead say country or Western or type locations that you associate with the West.
They have bulls in Spain.
Let me
which
say
is
my fucking sentence. Hyle, please. Things like barns and bull riding sequences felt very in line with the Wild West world that was in Pocket Tales.
Okay.
And I felt like that there's a sort of viable continuity there that none of the other worlds really continue on into Bad Fur Day, but the vibe of the Wild West, I think, is present in Bad Fur Day in ways. And that's all I wanted to say that moment when I shouted at you.
I'm scared now.
Yeah, I hurt Hyle there with my words.
I'm wounded.
He earned it, though, and I'm not going to apologize.
This is what it feels like to be in an abusive relationship.
Yeah, dude, if I was your dad, you'd be done. I don't know. I just wouldn't have patience for you. But I'm not your dad. And I think Vultureville is a really good world in Conker's Pocket Tales.
Now, Mitchell, you could always speak to how unfortunate the Native American Acorn people are in hindsight.
But why would that make him his favorite?
Don't tell him what he has to talk
I'm
about.
I'm helping him out because he's the 4th in line here, and he has to talk about Vultureville.
I like Vultureville. It's the one with the cow in it.
That's a good reason.
Yeah.
This has been a File 2.
You don't get to call it.
It was a joke, Hyle. Let me have those.
Que rico.